whatever the indications one comes up with, oops, something happened.
We have no picture.
We have no picture.
Oh, there
Now
it
we
is.
do. I think the sleep thing went off. Right?
Right. Asleep.
All right. That whatever indication, because these are fixed length indications, right? So when you're inventing fixed length indications, you want to be able to, you want to say, how am I going to show the duration of it? One way is to show it, as you mentioned, and put it in a thematic bracket, and that has a certain other aspects to it, as we just talked about it, or in which the thing does not have to occur throughout, but it just has to predominate or be the essence of the movement. And then there is what I call the literal notation, which be L, M, and N is another idea, right? I guess, yes, to show the duration of the fixed length symbol taking all, occurring literally throughout the whole unit that you're describing. So what I'm getting back to in the first place is, so whatever indications one comes up with, you want to be able to put it in the context of a notation and say, well, if I want to make this thing have a literal amount, literally a certain amount of time, how do I, what do I do? Do I put that do I do it as we did in L, or do I do it as I did in M, as I do it in N? Does the symbol lend itself to being able to show duration? Am I making myself clear?
Yes, but my question there is, so you put it in a phrasing though for the literal, is that correct?
Well, I'm not going to get into what we would do or what I would do with regard to any fixed length indication. I don't think. I mean, what I would for effort probably do at this point is mainly do. I would either do this for the thematic or do this for literal. I have problems with doing this, but that's a whole other,
Except that one, the M that you're referring to, may be used to apply to, for example, an arm. You want it to be specific to an arm.
It has problems we can go in that place, but I think that maybe we want to.
But yes, it does have problems, and that's what we've been using it for, that L and M are used for the same thing.
Yeah, right. But anyway, to me, there's again, that's another discussion, and I have issues with that, which may or may not be right. But really, I think what I would like to do is get back to these very interesting symbols that you've come up with, and whether they work and the other thing. So the other thing that I think that we really should be considering with these is, when you develop symbols, in my mind, it's important to be able to, if you want it to fit in with the system as a whole, to consider whether the...
Wait a minute.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can, Peggy, Cully, we're having trouble hearing. Oh, wait.
Hello?
I just heard you again.
Hello? Can you hear us, Peggy?
I think they're on a shaky internet connection.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Maybe they have to come back on.
I'm out now.
Hello? Woo! Just when we're getting to the good part.
Yes.
Hello, I see your frown.
I hear
Hi,
you.
Peggy.
Okay. Can you hear us now? Peggy?
What? Yeah, Charlotte, could you say again everything you said about a minute ago about the challenge with these symbols, and then
I could try and summarize.
You said what a good symbol needs to have is.
Yeah.
All right, it's important to, I just said important, and then I'll stop because I've been going on and on, to make sure, in my mind, that whatever symbols you come up with, fit into the system as a whole. E.g., that whatever symbols are in this thing really fit in with their meaning in the rest of the symbol, in the rest of the systems. And when I'm talking about systems, in my mind that includes motif notation and Laban notation, and we can get into that later, but other people might disagree with me. So now I'm going to be quiet and turn the table over to Brenton, because you had a thought.
Oh, actually, I was just going to summarize, just back to your meta point, which I agree with, which is that any symbol under consideration needs to be tested in the different contexts.
Yeah. Yes.
Yay for Brenton to be able to put what I took me 15
Also-
minutes to say.
Also, Peggy, I do want to say I really love your symbols for connectivity and how they fit with the Laban notation.
Good, I'm glad you do. I like them too.
Yeah.
Could I just ask in terms of that? Now, an arrow. Well, let's look at the different parts of this and see what these symbols mean, and make sure they don't mean something else in the system. You already made one thought, Peggy, that well, let's start with A. Okay, so does this, well, everybody, you know what A is, right? I don't need to hold it up. Everybody
It's the
have their
yield.
copy of A?
Yeah.
With
Yes.
yield? All right.
Can I have
So
it?
yes, so we are all in agreement that within this symbol, the center of the dark sign, the dark dot, is meant to mean center of gravity. Is that right, Peggy? I mean,
Yeah.
okay, and the curve, is that relate to the body sign?
No, it's more like, from my perspective, and maybe Colleen's and Brenton's as well, it's more pictographic. It has the feeling of something falling into someone else, someone's hand, someone's body, as in Contact Improv, someone, whatever. That it's like a sense of being supported, yielding into, whatever.
I have a thought on that.
Because it also, I think what comes to mind, and I think, from Charlotte talking is, all of the body cross, hold signs are all body related, and I mean, yielding is body into gravity.
I agree, and I think the body cross does
good.
relate to this, but that was not the reason I originally picked
Sure,
that.
sure.
That's what a sign of a good symbol to me is, where the pictographic actually represents something that has been decided on as a sign or a symbol
Agreed.
already.
Yeah, so all things being equal, that's what I would
good.
rather not have something be a picture, even though we do
But
that,
I think it's good.
if it does both. But when you're talking about the derivative, I like that, that it
The
does
have
derate to the symbols that we already have, and we've come up with a way of saying that it does.
Okay.
That it relates to the body,
We
right?
like it. In other words,
I mean, when
we like
when
it.
I saw it, what I thought it was relating to
Right, is this.
was, no,
No?
my thought was that you were, because I was trying to come up with symbols on my own, that it was somehow relating to, what number are we now? What letter?
I'm looking.
I think we're at O.
Oh,
What letter are we?
that's also body, but this is letter O.
Right. And this has within it, right? I mean, I don't know, you see, because of my understanding of yield, push, blah, blah, blah. Is it related?
That's the upper body pattern.
Right, the upper lower body pattern. And I thought you were sort of playing with that as a kind of shorthand somehow with that.
Lower often really utilizes yield and push to reach and pull. That's one of the major things, but yield and push starts earlier, even in the womb.
So you
And-
could, okay. Go ahead,
Yeah,
I interrupted.
I think in the past we have played with a symbol that was based on the upper lower that could have been yield push, the upper lower symbol you just showed, but as of right now, we're playing more with these symbols for yield push reach pull.
It's an orthogonal concept, so you can apply yield push to any of the body patterns.
Yeah.
Right, so if one thinks about that particular body pattern, then you would begin to think that it's only, that these are only
Right.
associated with that.
Exactly.
So maybe cut that idea out
Yeah.
and just go with this curve.
Yeah.
And
I have another thought on just that curve there, which is, we've been having some discussions around like, oh, when we see that dark black circle being the center of gravity, or when we see that curve, what else does that mean in the system? And so, as kind of inspiration, I look back at a little bit of like the formation of Chinese characters. Since in college I studied Mandarin, and something that was kind of interesting was that, and maybe this is already very known, but some of the characters are considered pictographs or pictograms, as in, they really represent the thing. Some are ideograms or ideographs in the sense that kind of more abstractly or conceptually they represent it. And then, there are other derivations. But I was kind of using that as inspiration, since effectively we're deriving a kind of symbol language, right, for movement. And kind of like a natural human language, that there are some ways in which different aspects of the system draw from either or both, and sometimes we have elemental parts like the
Interesting.
like the center of gravity, the big dark circle pretty consistently represents that. The open circle, we have kind of two possible meanings, either a hold symbol or the center of levity. And I'm just noticing how in natural human languages, it's not, sometimes we can get totally fixed. Like, all right, whenever I have, a dark circle, it's got to mean this. And sometimes that can kind of limit the symbols that we come up with. But kind of taking inspiration from some of the natural human ones, that kind of holding as much as we can to these elemental semantics is helpful, partly as a memory aid, because it makes sense. But, where need be, we can deviate. And in the case of this particular yield symbol, what I kind of like about it is that it actually draws a little bit both, pictographically and ideographically.
Sure.
Right? You've got the concept of the center of gravity, and then the curve underneath it. You could say it a little bit has a whiff of the lead-by bow, in the sense of it kind of falling downward. It also pictographically looks a little bit like ripples in the water as something is smushing downwards. So it kind of, one thing I like is, that in its simplicity, it has little whiffs of both pictographic representation and also kind of the conceptual ideographic side.
Sure. Now, I just wanted to mention time. We're getting to the end of a half an hour.
Okay.
I just wanted to point out that as you're talking about yielding into or being held by, just that there's and as you talked about bows, we have bows for supporting of weight and touching.
You better label them.
Which, yes, I'm going to
So
label
what?
this whole thing. Just showing something else, just a thought,
Okay,
the fact that we do have
Right.
derivation from bows, which indicate holding weight or
Uh-huh.
Right, that the curve, that's right. I was trying to think, what does a curve mean? A curve in motif notation, Alaba notation, means touch.
Yeah,
Right.
and yield does have a touch to it.
I think you could actually go with, both. I like that point about supporting. In a way, I see them both having merit. On the one hand, that little curve is both led by, and it's also, has that touch aspect. On the other hand, the idea of supporting, or there being a force involved, I think also works, both on the push and also on the pull, where there's a force coming from the backside.
Right.